Hey guys, Winning Cards here, and today I'm bringing you my locals deck profile. I went undefeated and won our locals tournament with this. I will go ahead and show you the spice, but if you guys would, please go to my TCG player page, my Facebook page, my YouTube channel, and my TikTok channel, all underneath Winning Cards. Like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate the love and support. Let's continue to grow these channels so I can do what I love for you guys. Alright, so I played Earth Machine. You know, I should have played this at the regional I went to recently. Just an oldie but a goodie for me, but it's still really good in this format, I feel like. So, I played 3 of the King Regulus. Card is awesome. You're allowed to equip any machine in graveyard, just a special summon, but if you equip this one, it also gains the attack boost, which is also nice. A lot of people tend to forget that. Then I played the Infinitrack package. We have 1 Infinitrack Tunneler, 1 Infinitrack Trencher. We have 1 Brutal Dozer, great card. And we have 3, you wouldn't be a Nebraskan if you weren't playing it, the Infinitrack Harvester. I always want to see this because it gets me to these, to get these online. Just a great card in general. I feel like if you play more of these, maybe 2, this isn't bad, but 1 of these is fine. More than 1, I feel like I brick on a lot of the time if I draw it. So and the way I play the deck, it has a few other optional plays for what you can do. Now we also played the Machina package. One of my all-time favorite cards in the deck. It's so old, people don't even read it half the time. They're just like, what does it do when you summon it? And then just let it go. If they ash it, cool. You have other cards that you can still play. It adds any Machina monster from deck to hand, which then you can also be some fun plays where you add this. It finally came foil, which is awesome in the new tins from this year. This card, when it's added from deck to hand, will then special summon itself and then send another Machina monster from the deck to the graveyard, which is awesome because then you can send the one, the only Big Daddy Rune. This card right here puts in so much work. Whether they pop it, forget that it specials your Machina monsters back, which I'll show you the other ones here in a second. The fact that he's 4,600, or the fact that, you know, they have decks like with our turn, well, this is our life points. I'm going to go ahead and negate your card and take half of both of them. And both of those effects are once per turn, but his summon is not once per turn. So you can still activate him and still go ahead and get things taken care of out of the graveyard. Now, the other ones we played, another card that just doesn't activate, Fortress, which is awesome. It's an inherent summon, so if I have cards like Skill Drain or Soul Drain active, he's still going to activate. He's still going to go, and he's still going to get everything done. We also play the last Machina monster, Citadel, just another beat stick, tribute him or tribute Rune Force, nuke the entire board. It's a quick effect, respond on my opponent's turn, which is awesome. And the lonely little gearbox. But this card, I'll tell you what, puts in so much work when people forget. They're like, oh, it adds another card, which basically it adds the Pot of Avarice with the drill, which is awesome. For a little spice in here compared to some players, I actually chose to play an Orcust package. So not a lot, so it's not bricky, but 1 of each. I can add this off of an Exceed monster, you know, Gear Gain X. Then I can go ahead and special it to the Platinum Gadget Zone, dump 1 of these. This can banish itself to send either the wand or the symbol, or even the gear suit if you need it engraved, but it can also send any dark machine, so you can also send Rune Force, which is awesome because that can still give you a way to get to game pretty quickly with the deck. Now when it comes to spells, I like to play a little different conventional than the normal deck for this. I do play the normal cards that add, but I also like to play the cards that will give you the option to essentially blow up your opponent's board or respond with anything your opponent has and pretty much just take the game in like that fast from them. So I like to go ahead and play the fun board wipes. 3 of the Lightning Storm. I like to play 3 of the Dark Holes. Yes, I know they're platinum. I will be changing that. I do apologize for that. 3 of the Raigekis and 3 of the Triple Tactics. Literally, if I open any combination of these, or this and this, or this and this, you know, this one and this one is not once per turn. These are, but this, depending on the situation, I'll draw 2 if they ash one of my searches. I'll blow up a card, I'll blow up the field, I'll blow up the field. You know, this will also let me take their hand apart if I need to, or take a monster and still swing for game. I've also had this work with Mystic Mine, where I can go ahead and board wipe the Mystic Mine monsters that are on the field, and then just the mine goes. There are a lot of ways that this can be versatile, you know, where you're at. Speaking of, I also like to put in 3 of the redeployment. That's obviously one of the best, if not the best card in the deck. Just send any card and then add 2 Machina monsters. Doesn't care, just adds them, which is awesome. I am considering cutting this to 2. I like playing 3 though, because in a deck of 60, I know, again, crucify me later, I'm sorry, 60 cards, I want to make sure I see between the monsters or this as many search options as possible, because they're going to ash at least 1 or veil or imperm at least 1 per turn. If they do that, I still have usually 2 or 3 others options in hand. I try to pay the one that I think will be the best ash bait and then still have the other ones to just go off. And then, you know, I have some one-ofs here. The 1 Monster Born, the 1 Urgent Schedule, and the 1 Harpies. I am considering cutting one of the heavy forwards for a 2nd Urgent Schedule, because this does pay off in certain situations. This, along with the Lightning Storm and the Raigeki and everything else, is pretty much just a board wipe. I don't like Mystic Mine. I really, really despise that card. And I hate that Konami left it active, but I understand it's a necessary evil. The last 3 spells, Fun Spice. Yes, they are the parallel rare, but they are limiter removal. And I'll tell you what, when you put this up with a Rune Force or a Citadel or anything else on your field, it's pretty much game most of the time. You'll just wait and set it, or if your opponent leaves a small weenie dude on board, you just swing for game. Pretty self-explanatory. They don't usually see it coming, but, you know, they kind of grow to expect it. So, for the control traps, I decided to put in 3 Soul Drain. I'm trying this along with 3 Skill Drain and 3 of the Solemn Strike. The 2 here I did play at the last regional I played this deck at in conjunction during Sprite Tier's first appearance in the format. These worked phenomenal, but I did notice that I needed some graveyard manipulation and control, and considering the fact that Fortress and or Rune Force do not technically activate, they just are a summon, this still lets them happen. So a lot of people get pretty ticked off when you're still able to bring out you know, big machine monsters with this activated, but you definitely can. And the last fun card for the Orcust lineup that I play is this. Now, this is not just an Omni Negate, but if this is in grave, in draw phase, if I kind of need like a way to get to something, I can still banish this from hand. I can add the Unclasper will special, then dump to grave. You can still send a like Rune Force, and it's a dark machine, so it still fits the requirement for the Crescendo to special summon that turn, which is awesome. So, now, on to the extra deck. We played 1. Geargian X pretty much gives you any of the starters in the deck that you need to just kind of get the engine going. You know, the typical play is going to be Gear Frame. Gear Frame is going to add you the Unclasper, which they will then special dump and then exceed into this, and then you're off to the races if your opponent really doesn't have much responses wise. I am playing, since we are playing the Orcust package, 1 Dingirsu. This card does come up a lot more than people think. Being a machine, I can play other fun cards in the side deck, which I'll show you here shortly, which just doesn't hurt my deck still to play. We also have 1 of the River Stormer. This searches any machine, unlike this, which is 4. This searches any machine for the deck. So, any Earth machine, excuse me. So, it's going to give me on summon and access to getting, you know, my Omni Negates that I can get to, or any of the big monsters that I need. You can link off with it, put it in grave, special it back by getting rid of the link, and then just go off. It's pretty bananas what the deck can do on its own. I did play... This is not played in a lot of the decks, but I found out that I like it. There are those niche games where it can attack directly, and if you double it with limiter, it's going to go to 44, which is pretty awesome. So you can just kind of poke and swing for game. It does come in handy at that point. I did play 1 of the Infinitract Earth Slicer. I go into this one probably the least out of all of them, just simply because of how I play the deck. It's just giant beat sticks and attack and aggro, and there's this, which is occasional. For finishing up the Exceed lineup, there is Gustav Max, and then we're going to also have the Libre. There is a combo, which I'm sure most of the players that play Earth Machine know, but I can show you at the end of the video, which pretty much 1 Harvester gets you to this, and you're off to the races, and you kind of go from there at that point. The Link monsters we are playing. I am playing 1 of the Galatea, just simply because you can end on her with Platinum here. She's protecting herself by being co-linked, and you also have the Crescendo for the Omni Negate, along with, if you have your other Omni Negates on board. We have Platinum. There are times in other builds that I have played Platinum, and I have played a Gold or Silver, simply just for the kind of S's and G's, because if my opponent kills this, well, it's kind of humorous, because then you can go ahead and add, you know, Gold or Silver will special, and then if you have another gadget, or excuse me, machine monster in hand, well, you can special summon it, which usually I have Gearsu or something else, which then just goes off, which is kind of neat. You have double-headed angle. You know, I go into this from time to time. This is the standard link play for most of the decks that play this build. It's just they end on this. He's not bad, but I don't play the way to get the monster back from the graveyard as much as this will then facilitate. This is mainly for the fact that it's a machine, but it's also for the fact that those weird hands that I need to unbrick or get rid of, like if I have a Nightmare in hand but not a Fortress and a way to send it, you know, he can dump Orcust Nightmare and kind of go from there at that point, which is kind of nice because he just does it. So, and then we played 3 of the Goliath, and we played one of the best cards in the extra deck, which is Ballista. This card literally is bananas. If your opponent doesn't stop it, you're just going to keep digging. You know, on summon, you add Box. Box will add you anything you need from there, and then you pretty much just get going. It's kind of cute, I'm not going to lie. Okay, for the side deck, you know, you got to play it. This is just going to be for your standard tier matchups or Sprite matchups or any other decks that you may play that are heavily reliant on pendulums or exceeds or fusions. You know, you just kind of sit there. You might play a ritual deck. It's very rare, but you might. But you got this to go ahead and take care of them. One of the fun, spicy cards that I like to play in the extra deck, it's just standard pretty much, I'm sure, but it's awesome in general, is Rivalry. When you flip this or Skill Drain or Soul Drain or this in tandem with it, you pretty much lock your opponent down, and you know you'll guarantee yourself at least another turn to just pretty much punch their face in with big machine monsters, or at least take control of the game with these, because this stays on the board. This slows any deck down for the format. We have to play it. I chose to not main it. In the build that I played at the regional, I used to main it. I chose to cut it now to the side simply because at the regional I mained it because I wasn't for sure how prevalent tier was going to be over Sprite. Sprite was more prevalent, and this put in a lot of work because when they end on like Toad and a bunch of their crap, I can just negate the board and then just but what I found out going into time, which by the way, Konami, the time rules suck. This right here, when I have it, it's great because I break the entire board, but the problem is I can't do any damage. So this is what, unless I feel like it's necessary now, I found myself citing it out a few times at the regionals. Again, this is just pretty standard, you know, 3 Cyclone. I hate Mystic Mine. And with everything I have main board in this card, you can pretty much see that. It's also for your Eldritch decks and things of that nature. Rip Red Reboot. I wish I could still play that. And the last 3 that I'm playing, obviously standard Tabuki Dogwood, because, well, you know, time rules again suck, and you've got to gain life points when your opponent's going off. So, that is pretty much the deck in a nutshell. I am going to give you guys that combo tutorial really quick, so let me go ahead and grab the card here real quick and I will show you what you can do. So it's pretty neat. I'm sure most of you know it, and if you don't, well, you can watch the video and we'll show you together. So you can normal summon Harvester. Harvester's effect will then add the Brutal Dozer. You'll go ahead and tribute the Harvester, special Brutal, which will then special you the Trencher. At that point you can exceed summon those 2. Obviously, you're still locked into the Earth Machine. You will go into River Stormer. River Stormer, this is important what you detach because of what's in the graveyard. You will detach the Trencher because that special summons you the card. So, then at that point in time, Trencher will then add you the card that you need, which is going to be your awesome Omni Negate. So you will add yourself 1 King Regulus. At that point, you can use Regulus to go ahead and target the Harvester in any monster you want to have in grave, or you can, you know, if you have already used your monsters in hand, you can then link off, before you use the Harvester, link off those 2 into Goliath. Then you'll use the Harvester, bring back the River Stormer, and then you can use this, banish the Trencher to special summon Harvester. Harvester's effect to copy the Regulus level. Then you'll go ahead and make it the level that you need, which is going to be 10. You can go ahead and special summon this. You can then detach 1 material to burn your opponent. Go into this, detach another one, you get the attacks, and then swing for game. It's pretty cool if your opponent gets down in life or late game and they don't know what you're doing, or they think you've already out-resourced everything and you just keep going. Do it because you will win the game more often than not. and or you'll have a huge beat stick on board and still be able to beat their face in with it. I have found more often than not people think this deck is fragile, or they try to hand trap what they think is a choke point, and the way I've built it, it just goes and goes and goes. It's kind of like, for lack of a better term, the Desert Bunny. There is usually, unless you completely brick, there is usually always a way out to play those hands out. Again, guys, I appreciate the love and support. Thank you for helping me grow this channel, and we will see you guys again soon.